Now, can a hostile work environment have psychological, emotional, and social impacts on a victim?
Oh, most definitely. Of course, the strongest impacts are on the individual, the target of the bullying. The health impacts can become quite severe, which is why we advise people to seek medical help as soon as possible once they realize this is happening. Because bullying is a very personalized thing, it affects the person's character, their sense of identity, their sense of well-being. It often creates a lot of stress, and we know now from research that's been done over the past 50 years that stress has an incredible impact on our health. It leads to heart problems, it leads to immune system issues. So you'll see people start to experience high blood pressure, changes in their heart rate, typically an increased heart rate. They have trouble sleeping. They feel ill all the time. They feel depressed. They suffer a lot from this because the stress is ongoing. It's not just a one-shot thing where, you know, it comes and then it passes and he can get over it. This is typically something that people endure for quite a long time. By our definition, we say it has to have occurred for at least 6 months for it to be classified as bullying. But people often suffer with this for longer than that, years sometimes. We've seen people that have endured it in the same job for anywhere from 5 to 10 years, depending on who you talk to. So yeah, it definitely has an impact on your health. It also has an impact on your interpersonal relationships. The stress gets to be such that it affects your overall life. And, you know, if you're constantly worrying about work and you dread it and you talk about it, you complain to your spouse, your partner, or your family, you know, the situation I'm in is horrible and I can't stand it and I'm tired of it. People are great at being sounding boards, but it's tough for anyone to be there and listening to someone going through this for a long time. I think it begins to affect us, those who see it from the outside, almost as much, but probably not, but almost as much as the individuals themselves, because we feel empathy for them and we want their situation to be resolved. So there's I forget the term for it, but you begin to suffer fatigue as someone who's trying to be a support to another individual. And so people tend to want to separate away from you. They want to get away from that. So that begins to interfere with your interpersonal relationships, not just in your personal life, but also at work. If you're a target, you're under the gun, people just don't want to be around you. You know, they don't want to be sucked in, and maybe they'll become targets too if they sympathize with you or they commiserate with you or they even try to help you and protect you. And there are a number of reasons why that's so, but ultimately it does have the effect of distancing targets from other people, which is very unhealthy, which is very bad, because we need social interaction. We're social creatures. We need our support networks. So if that begins to happen to you as a target, it's very important that you work on trying to maintain those interpersonal relationships. And it's also important for you to address your mental health. So in addition to seeking your doctor's help, we also suggest that people see a mental health professional too, to work on their mental health, because that's part of the whole package. And it definitely has an impact on your economic outlook, because, you know, you could be fired as a result of being bullied, or you can just not be able to take it anymore and you quit. So it definitely hurts the target very, very deeply.
What resources can you recommend and that are available to help support the victim during this difficult time?
Great question. If you're a target, like I said, our website has a lot of free information. We think it's very constructive advice, things that you can do in the situation if you're being bullied, like taking care of your personal health, taking care of your mental health, things that you might be able to do in your work environment to see about getting the problem to stop. Sadly, efforts to get the bullying to stop don't always work, but we do have what we believe is a very well thought out and pragmatic approach that people can take to collecting enough information on what's happening and then formulating a strategy to go to management and say, this is what's happening, here's what I'm experiencing, and I really need some help from you. So we have that advice on our website. We have been trying to push the state legislatures to pass laws regarding this. And if people are interested, they can get involved in that process. Our webpage for our legislative efforts is healthyworkplacebill.org. People can volunteer in their state to reach out to their state representatives to try to get laws passed. And we definitely encourage people, if they're healthy enough, to do that. But definitely the advice on our website, workplacebullying.org, is a great place for people to start because it gives advice for if you're in the situation, if you're someone on the outside observing it going on, or if it's happened to you and you're beyond the bullying but you're trying to figure out what to do next. We have some advice for those folks too.
Okay, good. And do companies have a legal responsibility to protect their employees from such behavior?
Right now, the only obligation employers have is to protect people when they're experiencing discrimination based on membership in a protected class, which are things like gender, race, religion, issues like that. So if it's discrimination as defined by law, individuals have legal recourse, and organizations are obligated to do something about it if it's brought to their attention. Sadly, though, most bullying that occurs, 80% of it falls outside of that legal definition of discrimination, whether it's two individuals that are members of the same status group or it just doesn't fit a legal definition. So sadly, there's very little organizations have to do to fix it, and there's very little recourse for individuals if they are enduring this at the moment.
Okay. So are there any laws in the United States that protect employees from a hostile work environment? None?
No, sadly not at all. Not in any one of the 50 U.S. states. There's no federal legislation. There are laws in Australia, there are laws in Canada, there are laws in many European countries. The U.S. is sadly lacking in this regard. We have no protection for individuals against indiscriminate harassment on the job. Basically, employers are free to do whatever they want as long as it's not actual discrimination. And like I said, we've been pushing for the states to pass these laws. It's been a bit of an uphill struggle. So if people are really interested in this topic and want to get involved, we strongly encourage them to do so. Go to that website, healthyworkplacebill.org. Look for your state. You can see what's currently happening in your state. Some states have introduced legislation, and there are many groups in most of the states that are fighting to get that legislation passed. So if you're interested, please get involved.
How can we change this? Is that the way to make change in America? Is for the people to let the government know that we want change? And one of the ways to do this is to talk to our state representatives?
At this point, we think the best avenue for affecting some kind of positive change that's going to bring this to an end, or at the very least for protection for people, if they are enduring this, is through legislation. Businesses have been slow to take up this cause on their own for numerous reasons. We think that legislation will, like legislation in the past that dealt to curb sexual, discrimination based on sex. So women entering the workforce and then being discriminated against. We eventually passed laws to stop that. And now it's widespread, and we all think as a matter of, of course we wouldn't discriminate against someone because of their gender on the job. But this is a very similar issue. Once the legislation passes, I think it will be very quickly adopted because it'll be mandated by that point, we hope. but also because people will just begin to see it as natural that, of course, we wouldn't want this to occur in the workplace. It's bad for everybody, so let's just stop it. So we think at this point that legislation is necessary to get something done to get it to stop.
Okay. And that concludes my questions. Just one more time, can you tell the audience your website and also where to go if they want to help with the action of creating change, those two websites?
Sure. The Workplace Bullying Institute is your source for all kinds of information for people who are currently the target of bullying. That's at workplacebullying.org. And if they're interested in finding out more about our legislative efforts and our attempts to pass legislation in the 50 states, you can find that information at healthyworkplacebill.org, and encourage all your viewers to go to either of those sites for more information, not even if they're being targeted for bullying right now, but if they just want to know more. And furthering that understanding helps all of us, because then if we see it happening, we can say, hey, I know what this is, and I want to do something about it. And those tools are out there on our website as well for those of us on the outside who want to do something too. So get involved, get informed. Please visit those websites, and I hope the information helps everybody.
Great. Well, thank you for your time today. I really appreciated you doing this with us, and it was very informative. So thank you very much.
Laura, you're very welcome.